Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna switch things up a little bit. Had to pull the Nova out and pull this sand rail back in. Started working on this a while ago. There's some videos on it. Put the Subaru motor in there. A friend of mine bought this and wasn't running, so I got to get it going. Got a few more things to do to it. Got to put a battery in it, some lights, rear shocks, stuff like that. So we can get this done because dune season is right around the corner. So enjoy the video and let's get this bad boy going. All right, so got me a battery all installed and hooked up. So now I actually have power and this thing can turn over. The wiring in this thing is kind of rough, like I said. I still need to figure out the coil situation. Went from individual coils to coil pack. This is the igniters. So I think all I have to do is basically figure out how to hook these up. So this is power, these two yellows that come together, and then this is the ones that activate it. So I think it's going to be a pretty simple. It's a 3-wire, so one's power and then one for each coil. So it'll be a waste spark. I gotta play around with that still, but right now I'm working on making this a little bit more user-friendly for the customer. The guy I bought it from was like 6'4", 400 pounds. He was a big boy. And with the seat all the way back against the bar, I'm 6 foot and I could barely reach the pedals. So this guy's a little bit shorter, so I basically moved the seat forward and allowed more travel on there. And then this particular bar is really high for some reason. I don't know if they did that for room, but the steering wheel had this block on there. This steering wheel was like super high. It was way up in here and it was very uncomfortable. Needs to be down here. Technically it needs to be back a little further, but I think it'll be all right right here. Joe Fab. This is a Joe Fab car, sand limo, and they welded all the joints, which kind of sucks because now it's not serviceable. In order to make this longer, I'd have to cut this off, and then I don't know. That's just a pain in the butt because I like to be able to stick this in the lathe and cut the weld off and pull this out, but I can't, so I'd have to cut it off here, slide a new piece in, which I guess I could do, but actually I think it'll be okay. But it needs to be about 2 inches lower. Actually about 2.5 inches lower than where this was at. So it needs to sit kind of down here for it to be comfortable. So I think my initial game plan is to use Heim joints, which I'm kind of a fan because you can set them in there and then you can adjust it pretty easily. Obviously I would have to use 2 of them to hold the shaft correctly, but I can make a clamshell out of metal, clamp back on here so I'm not welding, and then just make 2 threaded bungs, and then these are totally adjustable, and I think it'll work out pretty good. Might have to cut just a little bit of the threads off, but that's the game plan anyway, so we'll see how this turns out. So I got the backlight mounted up. I just bought some bolt-on clamps, some steel ones, 1.5 inch. I actually bored them out a little bit on my lathe because of the powder coating. But I just put a little tab on there, and I lock it down, she ain't going anywhere. Then I'll powder coat those black. So it should look pretty good. Now I'm working on the front one. Kind of the same deal, just a couple of these clamp on. Nice little, that way I don't have to grind up the powder coat. And then just made a real simple little cardboard bracket. Just sit about like that. I'll mill this flat so it'll have something that I can weld to for this. That should look pretty good. So I'm going to cut that out with my arc droid here. It's pretty simple how to do these. You just basically trace around that little pattern there and push the button and it starts cutting. It's kind of cool. So I will show you how that's done here in a sec. Alright, so basically all you have to do is just trace this. Instead of actually just dragging it, trying to get around there, it's because this thing's a little skippy. All you gotta do is just push the button and it makes these little nodes. And it'll connect the nodes. And it's not the smoothest, but I mean, just minimal amount of grinding will clean that up. But the cool part is just, I mean, I can make 4 or 5, 10 of these patterns now, clamp them together, grind them all down, and make them 100% match. So yeah, there's the part, and then to do the center, I'll just carefully remove this here magnet and do the same thing here. And now we got the center part. And then all I have to do now is just push the button and it should cut. Except I missed the top somehow. Oh, please. Okay, we can just go back and fix it. Alright, so basically now it should be, that's what it would be cutting if I had my torch in there. Okay, so that didn't work out very good. Something kind of happened weird on my, something happened weird on when I was tracing this out, so I'll just do it again real quick. Alright, so I got my front brackets made for my light bar. Just cutting these out on the plasma, got them all welded on there. I'm going to do a little powder coating. You guys have never seen this before, it's a pretty simple process. Got this little electrode here. See, it's basically like a static electricity. It's about the hit of a spark plug. If you ever got hit by one of those, about the same. So it'll get you, but it won't kill you. So you just push the button in and then spray it on there. And this wire right here positively charges the powder, and then this whole entire stand is negatively charged. So it's kind of like static electricity. Basically just clings right to it. And that's it. And you bake it for 20 minutes at full handy, and she's all done. Let's see if I can get these all on here without clanking them together. So I just bought a used oven off of Craigslist for 50 bucks and made a little stand for it, and it's been sitting out here for quite a number of years. Just pop them on there and then set it at 400 degrees, 20 minutes, set your timer, and it's done. Well, you gotta take the back brackets off for the chase bar. I'm gonna do all those at the same time. Oh, that's not good. Almost touched. So on the rear chase light that I put on, I bought these bar clamps. I could have made these, but they're like 35 bucks a piece. I was thinking about it. Once I machined all those out, I used them on the front too. If I machined 4 of those out, I mean, that would take me a couple hours, and what I charge in my shop, I mean, these would have been really expensive. Plus I didn't have this particular material, so I would have had to have bought that. So what I did was I just ground a couple flats on there, and then 2 tabs with a hole in it, and then welded it up. Too shabby. And that was it. Super easy. And then I'm powder coat these, obviously, same as the fronts, and bolt them on, and that way I don't have to grind and fuss with the powder coat on the frame, since the powder coat's still in pretty nice shape. So pretty easy way to hang some lights. Alright, that should do it. Get my little finger hangers on here. I put some high temperature tape on there to keep the powder coat from getting on the bar side. I already have it the right size and I don't want any more powder coat. So I just put some high temp tape made for powder coating. I could actually peel it off right now if I wanted to. It already did its job in keeping the powder off, but it didn't really matter. Boom. Set it and forget it. 20 minutes, we'll have a part cooked and ready to go back on the car. All right, let's see what we got. Ooh, there. Custom little rack puller router and pusher inner. There we go, boys. Nice powder coated shiny parts ready to bolt on. Okay, I'm gonna let these cool down and I'm gonna go to lunch and I will continue with the build. Alright, brackets are all done, powder coated, bolted on there. Did the little steering one that I made. I dropped the steering wheel down a little bit and brought it back. So that looks pretty good. Obviously I still need to wire them. That one's on there. Nice Baja Designs. And then I got to put these front lights on still. Took off the old laser stars. You guys have been around for a while. Recognize those guys. Those were kind of cool back in the day. Alright, so these bad boys need to go on. And we already have some brackets from the old lights. So those are going to go on right there. Looks pretty nice. Only problem is that the holes in the middle, that doesn't quite fit. So I'm just going to put the hole on the end, bolt them on, and then start wiring this bad boy. So I was going to try and get this thing running, and then I didn't have any power to the coils, and I kind of looked at this mess and like, this wiring is absolutely atrocious. They just hooked wires right to the battery terminal, which is kind of ridiculous. And then it's just a gobbly mess down here. So what I ended up doing was make a little hood for it over here. Then I'm going to make a electronics bay that goes underneath this. This is where I mounted the radios. It could use a dash, but that's a lot of work, and this guy's getting in a little deep on the money, so I think that looks pretty good. So the switches for this thing are way down here underneath the turning brakes. I mean, you can't even get to them. So that's kind of weird. So I'm going to make an electronics bay under there. And I'll put all the electronics under this nice and neat. We're getting a Switch Pro, which is a digital switch panel. And I'll run all the wires through there and get rid of that rat's nest back there. So that's what's going on next. But the hood looks pretty decent. I didn't really want to bring it down to a point. I think that looks kind of silly. So I'll put a little half hood on there. I kind of like it. So once I get that done and get the electronics in there, and I can start wiring up the lights, and yeah, that'll be cool. All right, so let's see what the result is. Remove the hood, and there is going to be my little electrical bay. Turned out pretty nice. I'll just paint all this up and then rivet it in there, and then relays and Switch Pro and fuses and everything will be right here. That way if you ever blow a fuse or have any problems, you pull the hood off and boom, all your electronics are there, instead of pulling the back seat, which is a nightmare, and then having to figure out where all this crap goes, and it's just a mess. Very, very poor job of wiring. So yeah, I think I like that better. Now I have to wait for some parts to come in, so I think I will conclude this video. Kind of a short one, but waiting for parts and waiting for this and waiting for that, so it is what it is. So we'll catch you on the next one, and thanks for watching.